great question. I love that you are sort of sharing the other side of the coin. You know, some of us are naturally wired to pursue movement, and not to sound woo-woo, but it's almost like the soul decides that you're going to go on that journey of pursuing excellence in that particular vehicle and be confronted with all the challenges and setbacks. And that's the journey that you're going to go on. And you know, for me, in one area of my work, when I work with athletes, that's mental performance work, right? That's how do we sharpen the soul to be mentally able to overcome failures and setbacks and self-doubt and lack of confidence when you're pursuing performance. But yes, that mental component, that psychological component, which for me, you know, later on when I went back to do my master's in exercise science, it was from that lens because I realized that it really didn't matter how good my skills were in helping people move their bodies and following the protocols of whether it was strength training or whether it were cardiovascular training. If I couldn't really help people understand what was going on in their bodies, their motivations to exercise, overcoming the mental barriers, then I couldn't really serve them fully. And of course, they were coming from a perspective that was different from mine. This was a world that I ate, sleep, and breathed in, and I really had to learn the other person's experience that didn't have that, natural desire, that natural desire. It was something that they chose to do because it was a form of self-care for them. Um, and so honestly, that became a much more fulfilling way of actually offering exercise to really understand from the other person's perspective and figure out, well, what resources and learnings can I get to help people face those barriers? And I think, like you said, I think people, when they're having those experiences, the narrative, like it's painful, or I find this really hard, or my body doesn't move in that way, because what's a lot out there in the world when it comes to sport and movement is fit bodies, bodies that move well, bodies that don't find it hard, bodies that appear to enjoy it. When people have an alternate experience to that, they assume that either something is wrong or that they are wrong in some way. And so a lot of my work is about including all of our internal experiences, naming these internal experiences and saying this is exactly what it's like. Some people are afraid to move. Some people feel anxiety when they feel their heart rate go up because that actually feels a lot like anxiety in the body. It can also be really challenging as an adult to learn a new skill. And so being able to have that beginner's perspective of finding things hard again, that's really hard for us when we are really good in lots of ways at other things that we spent decades of becoming really good in. When we have to learn something new, that's really difficult.